Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CCW podcast. I'm your host, Kaiser, and I'm here joined today by someone who is very, important to Citizens Crime Watch, who hasn't been on the podcast yet. She's kind of very behind the scenes, but does a lot for the organization. She's also my supervisor, so I got eyes on me all the time when it comes to her. But jokes aside, I'm joined by Kathy today. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, say a little bit about what you do, just so the people know who you are.
I am very much behind the scenes. I am the person normally that picks up the phone. I've been with the organization going on 11 years since in April, coming up April.
Long time.
So it's been a while. I'm kind of new to the supervisor thing, but that's exciting. Kaiser's doing great, by the way, guys.
I guess. But okay, so we're here to talk about today is cool. This podcast is a little different. The reason Kathy's here today is because we're going to be talking about something that most people aren't actually used to. So and we have a whole thing about virtual safety, cyber safety, online safety, whatever you want to call it. But today specifically, we're going to be tackling gaming and things like that, right? So I wanted to start off. What game are you actively playing right now? Because both of us, for those who don't know, both of us are gamers. Both of us actively play a lot of video games outside of work hours. So what game are you actively playing right now?
I wouldn't call myself a gamer because I do want to say I suck, but I'm currently playing Fortnite. I also used to play Sims a lot, but that's a solo game.
Alongside every other teenager in 2021.
I'm still going strong.
Yeah.
Dedication.
No, that's fine. Fortnite's super popular. I played it for a little while. Not for me, but who am I to speak? I play League of Legends all day. I play League all day. So League of Legends is known for having a very, let's say, I guess, strong arm community. A lot of toxic people.
I believe you.
So,
hey, Fortnite's not that far behind.
Yeah, true.
With all the little kids.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of to kind of talk about that. That's where we're going with this conversation is that this podcast, this whole conversation is kind of for parents to really understand where their kids are coming from when it comes to online safety and kind of understanding the rules and regulations of the internet, specifically when it comes to video games, a little bit of social media too. We'll touch kind of on those topics. That will probably be a podcast in itself. But for the most part, we're going to mostly be touching on the online space when it comes to video games. So we have a list of things that we're going to go over. So you can just take it from the top if you want. You can bring up the first subject.
Sure. So something that I myself did that I didn't realize that it was such a bad idea until I started gaming was not only was my username the beginning of my email, it was my first name. So I had everybody that would randomly start playing with me on Fortnite because it auto-populates squads and things like that, which is just a group of people that you play with that you don't really know. They can add you as a friend, they can not, but they all know your name essentially. So everybody would just automatically be like, hey, Kathy. And I'd be like, how do you know my name? And it's obviously my username. I luckily have remedied that situation. But that's something you want to always be careful with. It's the username you choose. You don't want it to have any information that you don't want out there.
Yes.
You don't want strangers knowing your name. You don't want strangers knowing the town you live in, schools you go to, even birth dates. A lot of people use the month and the day or the day and the year that they were born. You don't want to do that. So to me, I think that it's super important because a lot of people don't really think about it. They're just what username should I have? Jason 2339.
Yeah.
And they just pick random numbers at the end, but it's oh, your name's Jason?
Yeah.
And it's just
you don't want to make it too obvious. And it is a bit of it is a lot, it can be very confusing because a lot of kids and the younger audience and the older audience don't know that a lot of these sites, they do have they do generate your password based off of your email. If you make an Xbox account on Microsoft, you'll go online and if you use your email, right, it'll, I remember when I first made mine, it created ones with my name. So it'll be like Kaiser Castro 234, whatever, Kaiser this, Kaiser that. You don't generally want to do that, obviously, because it's easy for other people who don't know your kids it's like an extra way for them to get in, right? To kind of to learn about your kid or learn about yourself. If you yourself are a person who are on the internet and you don't necessarily want to expose yourself to other people like that through your name. That's why online aliases are so common. It's because of how easy it is nowadays, or not even just nowadays. It's always been not that hard to kind of find somebody through their name through the internet, right? Like,
what's the guy's name? Ninja. Ninja's a huge Fortnite person.
Yeah.
That's not his real name.
His real name isn't Ninja, but
do you
that's what people know about him.
If his password was like Ninja123?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That doesn't really, which is like another thing like we want to hit on is like watch what your password is.
Yes.
Don't make it something easy. Don't make it like your dog's and then like the street you were born, like you live at. Make it something difficult. Something that helped me early on when I was doing passwords is like think of a saying and then change like the letters into numbers or like symbols, and that usually will work because you can always remember a saying. It doesn't have to be a super long one. You just think of a saying and then just turn the O into a 0, the I into an exclamation point.
Yeah.
And no one's going to guess a saying versus they're going to go through like, oh, your son's name is Robert. Well, Robert and his birthday.
Yeah. No, that is a terrible password. Don't ever do that. But
also change your password for everything.
Yes,
don't have the same password.
Exactly. Because if they can get one for one password, they can get it for most of them if you keep the same password. But luckily, a lot of services these days offer two-factor authentication, where they either text you or you can get an app on your phone to do it, or email, however you want to do it, or even a phone call.
Yeah.
There's definitely extra layers of security that a lot of people should be aware of. A lot of people don't know, but all you have to do for most, if not all services, all gaming platforms have two-factor authentication, because a lot of these services do have your personal information, your banking information, because if you've ever bought a game online, you have to use a debit card. So look it up, go to the settings, look for the two-factor authentication. Look for that and enable it. It takes like 2 minutes. And then if somebody tries to sign into whatever it is, and this can apply to social media, your emails, gaming, whatever it is you have, you'll get a notification to your phone whenever somebody tries to sign into your things. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But if you want that extra layer for your password, there's also services that are available that give you random generated passwords.
Yeah, password
so
generators.
if you want to have like a password that is completely random, truly random, that not even you would be able to just remember off the top of your head, you can go to different websites to get one. There's one I have here. It's called NordPass, which they supply. It's essentially like a site that they create randomly generated passwords for whatever it is you're trying to sign into, and then it keeps a database of that. And then you can obviously download that Excel or PDF, whatever it is, to have that list of passwords in a safe spot on your computer, so you can remember for yourself. And just don't share it with anybody, obviously. But
Apple also, like if you have an iPhone, I think even a MacBook would work. Like it actually has like an auto-populated password as well, and you could store it like on your iCloud.
Yes.
I don't know how secure it is. I'm sure it's relatively secure, but I know that it does auto-populate them.
Yes.
I think that's great. And I do know, like, worst case scenario, you could always just create an Excel sheet yourself and keep track of these things. Just make sure your personal computer, wherever you have it, is actually relatively safe. Like no one else knows the password, no one else can log in. If it does, put it like in a miscellaneous folder. Don't actually name the folder miscellaneous, but somewhere deep into your computer where it's not just like one click away. It's a little more difficult for people to get these passwords.
100%. Okay, so let's move on to the next one.
So something that was brought up by one of my coworkers, Nicole, who's been here forever. She's one of the coordinators, is your geo mapping. You should turn that off. Geo mapping is actually where it pinpoints your location. Instagram does this, Snapchat does this, Facebook can also do this.
Yes.
This is a little bit more of a social media thing. I don't really think it affects gaming.
Certain services do, because depending on it depends on the service, right?
Right.
Every gaming service is different. And if a game because the thing is, a lot of games have server-based connection. So technically, the game does have your location. It just doesn't have as accurate accurate of a location as something like Snapchat or Instagram, because it goes off proximity. So they'll have like a server, you know, somewhere, let's say on the East Coast of the US, or somewhere in Latin America or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's why like when you get on an online game, there's actual people playing, because there's people awake at that time in your time zone.
Which
you're not
is
playing with like people in China who might be sleeping.
Exactly, which is actually something to remember, because for a lot of parents that don't know this, to keep this in mind, because it is based off proximity, you want to be extra. That's why it's that much more important to be careful about your identity, because if 9 times out of 10 you're going to be playing with somebody who's not that far from you, because of the way the online games are played, because of the way that connection works, right? The closer you are to somebody, the better connection is going to be. So the game is automatically going to try and pair you with people who are in your general vicinity. Maybe not like 10 houses down, but definitely within the same city, within the same state, within the same coast. Right. So again, keep those things in mind when you're trying to be safe out there.
Well, I mean, then there are the people who use VPNs. Yeah. Because there are people who use VPNs to play in other continents. There's people from Australia who might want to play with Ninja from the States. They have to join a different VPN.
Yes.
Things like that you don't really think of. Do you want to explain what a VPN is?
A VPN is essentially what's the textbook definition. I have it somewhere here. It is a virtual private network. I always forget that. But essentially what it does is it's a service that allows you to bounce your IP off of different servers in different countries, right? Usually these services, a good example is some examples are ExpressVPN, Surfshark, NordVPN. All these are different services that take your IP, right? Your that's essentially like your internet address, internet ID, and it bounces off of different countries. So essentially, if somebody's trying to track you on the internet, or if somebody's trying to follow you or steal something from you, they have a significantly harder time doing it, because they can't track where you're coming from, because your signal's constantly being bounced off of different towers. But because of that service, it also allows people to go to other countries if they want to if they want to game on another server, right?
A lot of people use it to like watch what Netflix would look like for somebody in Europe.
Yes.
For somebody in China, like all the anime stuff would pop up more if you're like your VPN is from China.
Exactly.
A lot of people, or even Spain. You go to Spain and watch all these like telenovelas that like people like to watch. Like there's a perk to them, but you also have to be wary. That's the word.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to be wary of them, because people can use that. Like somebody might maliciously be going on a different VPN just to try and get some information, because maybe you're more gullible and it's easier to steal your identity or something like that and like run your credit.
100%. And then they're harder to track.
Yeah, because they're a whole nother country.
So again, things to keep in mind. I understand that a lot of our audience has probably never heard about any of this stuff, but that's why we're here. We're here to talk about it so you guys can be informed. Exactly. And we're gonna have links and information we're gonna have links to all this information, and like little probably like a little list, a little sheet of all these things that we talked about below.
If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. We could probably answer them, or at least direct you to like the correct sources where they might have answers for you.
Send us questions at #CCW podcast. Follow us on social media. Go to our website to set up a Crime Watch meeting. All
smash
that will
that
be
like button.
Smash that like button. All that will be linked below. Continue.
A big thing that people don't realize is that gamers nowadays aren't little kids anymore.
They are definitely not.
They're not these kids that are like 10 years old playing Super Mario. Like these are now 18 and up. Again, I myself am 29 years old. And I'm playing video games. I have a brother who is 35, 36. Yes, the games we are now playing are a little more older. Don't get me wrong. I will still smash some Super Mario Brothers. But we do play a little older games. And a lot of times I run into a lot of 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds that are playing. And I'm like, I know technically you're not supposed to be on this game, like age-wise.
Yeah.
Luckily, I play a lot with my younger nephews. Even sometimes my niece joins in, because I feel like it's a way to protect them a little bit, like from like the more toxic kids that are online that take this way too far.
Definitely.
That call people trash when it's just
there's
like,
a lot of them.
There's so many. They take this so serious, and you see how many. What is it? Rage quitting. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
So I actually take it. Like, that's why I want to make sure that I make time. Like, whenever my nephew calls me and he's like, hey, can we play Fortnite? Or whenever I'm on, they're like, why haven't you called me? I want to play Fortnite. And you know, my mom only lets me play, like, when you're on. It's like, okay, yeah, of course. Like, I'm a new mom. Mm-hmm. Do I have all the time in the world? No, but I want to make sure that they know, like, hey, like, yeah, let's get on, let's play. And that's something that I think a lot of parents don't do. They don't, like, look into the games their kids are playing. They're just like, yeah, here's a game. Go distract yourself. Give me a break for a few hours. And to me, it's just like, maybe play the game once in a while. Definitely. Like, you'd actually be surprised, like, how much it helps decompress stress. Like, just joking around. And again, I am nothing to snuff about, but like, I have one of my little nephews are like, you're so good, no one's better than Tia Kathy at Fortnite. And I'm here like, you have no idea how I get schooled by like 8-year-olds all the time.
Yeah.
But they have fun because they're just it's just a fun way.
That's the point.
And they want to do it with you.
Yeah.
They don't want to play. I have plenty of times I get online and I see that like they're in the middle of a squad, like they're full, they're maxed out, and they leave to play with me, and I'm like, but that guy's like 20 times better. Like, he does tournaments.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, it's okay. Like, I'd rather play with you, because it's just like, you just gotta make it fun. And you know, I know a lot of people, one of the things that a lot of parents are scared about is like, oh, violent games. I agree. That is why there are game ratings in the world. Okay, and I don't know if you guys know, they're rated E for everyone, T for teen, M for mature. I always suggest you look at the ratings. But if you're going to let your kid play a game like Fortnite, one thing I can say is it's not bloody.
Yeah, there's no blood in the game.
There's no blood in the game. You're building like what you do in Minecraft. Like, you're not doing anything. It's
competitive because it's a multiplayer, but I think
that helps.
It's more cartoon violence.
Exactly.
It's more cartoon violence
versus like a Mortal Kombat, which is like you literally are seeing
you're ripping people's heads off.
it's way more graphic.
But I will say that a lot of parents, and this is actually a super important point to hit on, because a lot of parents don't really realize how important that system is when it was put in place. Fun fact, that system was actually put in place because of Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 2, when it came out, it was or Mortal Kombat, I think it was the first one. When it came out, it was a super divisive thing. And the MSRB system was put in place to prevent kids from buying these violent games, which is fair. So, but there's a lot of parents that don't take advantage of that. I've seen time and time and again, I don't know how many parents I've seen where they don't pay attention to the game that their kids are buying, and the kid is like, oh, I want to play like GTA, and the parents like, yeah, sure, whatever, it's just a stupid video game. When you're like, yo, your kid is buying a game that like shows prostitution, sex, all shooting, guns, drugs, and all drugs and all this crazy stuff, which is like, I mean, to each their own. But if you're trying to be an active parent and you want to be more aware of what your kid is doing, look into the games that they're playing, right? 100%. And it's important to differentiate the two, because if you educate yourself on what games are good and bad for your kids, not only will you have a peace of mind, but they'll be able to enjoy themselves as well, right? Yeah. And you never know if you can join in on the fun, because you can figure out that, hey, maybe this game isn't so bad. My mom, my own mother, she plays plenty of games with me and my brothers. Yeah. And from when we were little kids, it was 4 of us, 4 boys, 1 mom, right? So we used to play all kinds of games together, Mario Kart, Mario Party. Now my mom is more into like card games that we play, but we still play a lot of things together because it's a fun bonding experience. I think if parents would, take that step to kind of take that initiative to play with their kids, not only will you find yourself having a good time with them, but you can also protect them while they're on the internet.
Yeah, because they'll be more like, hey mom, let's get online and play like this game. Nothing's going to tell you more about the game than like the first level. And this is a little different than online gaming. This is just in general games. Like when you buy a Mortal Kombat, Grand Theft Auto, even Spider-Man, for example, or Batman, the first like level, I guess you could call it, is all a tutorial. Like it's going to show you how, what, when, like how to do things. So you're going to learn a lot. Even if you want to sit down next to your kid and watch them play the first like level, you'll see what the game's about.
Yes, 100%. Watch them play that first hour of the game, and you'll get a good idea, a good sense of what the game is. And then from there, you can determine whether or not you want your kid to continue to play it. And if for whatever reason you don't want them to play it, you're like, hey, listen, I think this is too violent. You tell little Timmy, yo, let's go trade this out for something different. you can always get a refund and then get something different, right? It's compromise, right? Compromising with your children, I think, when it comes to video games is a good thing, especially when it comes to even time spent playing, right? You know, recommended. I mean, you can go to so many different places to find out what's the recommended time. You know, there are people I know guys that play for 1 or 2 hours out of the week. I personally try to pay like 6 to 10 hours a day personally.
I personally make it a mission not to see how many hours I play. That might hurt me. But yeah, no, like definitely recommended time. I think I've seen the most. It's like 1 to 2 hours.
Yes.
Realistically and personally speaking for me, if it's like an online game, that's not enough time to even play like three levels, let's call them, because that's what we're talking about. These online games in particular, where it's not something you can pause and just walk away and come back from, you're playing with people that are there right now.
Yes. You're
not going to get, and mind you, like kids play video games a lot of times also to distress, but it could be a socializing. It also helps with coordination. Yes. Nowadays, like all of the work fields are going on such a techie view. Like literally, you can get a job as a drone flyer, like flying drones. That's a thing. And you make good money doing it. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's just like playing video games helps you.
It definitely can.
View. So to me, I would personally, like, as long as your kid is a good student, they're doing all their extracurricular activities, I think it's very important for kids to be active. Put them in a sport, put them in karate, put them in dance, whatever helps. But as long as they're hitting all of that and they're doing well, it's okay for them to binge one day, 3-4 hours, in my opinion. Obviously, they have to eat, drink water, stay hydrated. Don't let them like pass out. Yes. But that's like my personal view. I think every parent has a comfortable level that they have to figure out.
Yes.
One of the things that you could always do is like make a plan. Like, hey, you know, you can only game this many hours a week. If you want to game one day for all those hours, obviously nothing crazy, that's on that kid. But I think that especially once they get to a certain age, you could set like for the week you have 10 hours to play.
Yes.
Divide it like as you may. Mm-hmm. Obviously it's not like, hey, I have chores to do but I'm going to game. No, after your chores, hey mom, I'm going to game for 3 hours today. Set a timer.
Yeah.
Most kids respond well to things that they like, standards that you set ahead of time.
And a lot of services actually offer these automatically, right? There are different routers that you can buy from your internet provider, not directly from an internet provider, but external routers that you can buy that set limits to how long somebody can use the internet. So if, you know, again, little Timmy's on his PlayStation and you only want him there for 4 hours, boom, you can set the router to shut it off at 4 hours. Hey, sorry, that's it. Your time is up. And then you can go to the next day. Or even I know on the Nintendo Switch, you can actually set it from the console itself. Yeah. You can literally set console hours for your kids to play. And then the Switch will tell the kid, hey, listen, your time is running out. You know, finish up whatever you're doing.
It even has a parental app. Nintendo has an app that from your phone, I think you might be able to do that setting where you can limit like, hey, turn this off at this time.
Exactly.
Something that's really important for parents to talk to their kids about that is a bit of an uncomfortable topic to some is online predators.
That's a big one.
This covers, we can go super deep into this with social media, but we're specifically going to focus like on gamers. Like I had said earlier, a lot of gamers nowadays are older.
Yes.
So they can easily target younger kids. How? Very simple. We could use Warzone. Right, which is similar to Fortnite, a little more better graphics.
Yeah, but it's more oriented. Warzone is based off of Call of Duty, so it's more oriented to an adult audience. So you're gonna see there are kids that play it, but you're gonna see many more adults play it.
Many more adults. So you can have like a kid go online and start playing, and they're not gonna be as good as an adult who's been playing, and again, who can dedicate 10, 12-hour days. Like I think Ninja actually plays like 18 hours or something like that. That's all they do.
I mean, when you make millions, why not?
100%. But a lot of people even trying to become gamers are dedicating that time.
I myself spend plenty of time, you know, just as much. I leave work and I'm there till like 1, 2 in the morning playing. So
So if you come in late now, I know why.
Oh, definitely. But jokes aside, but continue.
My point is that, so it's very easy for an older person to kind of swoop in and be someone's hero. Like, they're going to carry them throughout a game. Carry them throughout a game is, if we're in a team and I'm a good player, like, I can easily, like, defeat anybody who tries to take you out.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I can you're going to want to play with me more because you're getting more wins.
Yes.
It makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you want to play with me that I'm older and I'm better and I'm being nice to you versus these little kids that are a little mean because you're not as good and they make fun of you. So every time I'm on, you're going to want to play with me. And I'm easily going to become, like, the person that, like, relates to you the most, right? Like, hey, I understand. And maybe I slowly start working in and gaining your trust.
Yeah.
And you slowly start telling me, hey, your name and, like, the country you live in, and then the state, and then the city, and what school you go to, and slowly, like that, you can get. So you need to make sure that you are always having, like, an open communication with your kids. Like, who are you playing with? Do you know them? Like, know that these are things that can happen, because these predators can easily target kids. And again, this kind of goes throughout. Like, it's not just gaming. Social media, it happens too. Even schools.
The internet in general.
It could be a dangerous place if you're not vigilant and paying attention. You want to make sure that you're explaining to kids, like, hey, these are risks that can happen. Make sure that, you know, you aren't making friends with people you shouldn't be. I'm huge on, like, if you even slightly feel a little weirded out by somebody, like, there's no need for you to continue playing with them. I don't care how many rounds you're winning. Yeah. Like, if the guy or girl is giving you a weird vibe,
cut it off.
That's it. Block them. If anybody, and this also goes kind of a little bit more into bullying. If somebody is harassing you, and this, again, might not be so much the online predator, it could be like the younger kids that are being mean. Anyone who's harassing or bullying you, block, unfriend. You can even report people if they're harassing you.
You definitely can. Almost every modern game features some sort of report feature where you can go in, you can report somebody, submit a ticket, and the company that owns the game will do something about it. Yeah. These players do get banned. It is actually a problem in a lot of games where people are constantly trying to make new accounts because of how often they get banned.
They're called trolls.
Yeah.
They like to troll people. They like to bother people, and they enjoy that. But that doesn't mean that your time has to be tainted by that. Play with people you know. Play with family. Play with friends that you actually know from school or maybe from karate or any other extracurricular activity. Don't go looking for friends online. That goes across the board. I just feel, especially when you're young, your kids don't know how to read people at that age, so they're not gonna know, like, hey, that was weird. Yeah. They're gonna take it as, oh, they just asked a silly question. Kids are more willing to shrug something off because they're having a good time, because they're winning, because of whatever, versus actually realizing, like, oh, this might be. So you could even have, like, a conversation after the fact and be like, hey, tell me, like, what you spoke about. When your kids are playing, keep an ear open to what they're saying. Yeah. If you give them a mic, because a lot of option is not to give them a headphone.
100%. There are so many games that I play without a headset. I just by choice, because of either how toxic the environment is, or I just don't want to talk to anybody. You know, exactly. Sometimes you want to just lose yourself in the game, and it's one thing that we preach here at CCW is awareness. Right, that is the biggest thing. Awareness. Be aware. And even just as you're aware when you're home, when it comes to safety in your home, when it comes to safety in your neighborhood, safety online for yourself and your kids, because a lot of these can apply to yourself too. It doesn't necessarily have to be your kid, but it's learning and informing yourself on these things so that you know how to combat it when it happens or how to prevent it. Right? You can only have that peace of mind if you're willing to go out of your way to educate yourself on it. And I mean, it's worth it. It's for your kids, right? You want your kids to be able to have fun. A lot of my closest friends I've met over the internet playing video games, you know? Some of these guys I ended up going to college with. Some cool stuff. You get a lot of cool experiences. Some very good things can happen from this, but you as a parent have to go out of your way to learn and push your kids in the right direction. Right? Because if you teach little Timmy, hey, listen, these are the kind of people you want to avoid on the internet, he'll do it. he'll avoid. You just have to teach. You have to take those steps, right, to educate yourself.
And be vigilant. Like, there's a lot of times something we might not have been able to cover fully is again the bullying aspect of it all. Like, there's so many times I'm here and I'm watching my nephew play Roblox, and there's this little kid that's like being extremely aggressive, in my opinion, to him, and I'm just here like, why? Like, you stand up for me. And I'm a grown up. Like, you should see this kid. Like, anytime he thinks somebody is like kind of like being a little past with me, he's like, hey, don't do that. Like, that's my Kathy. You can't talk to her like that. And then I sit here and I'm like, stand up for yourself. And he does in person. But for some reason, when there's like a screen, he's just like, okay. And I'm just like, no, you don't have to play with that person. You don't have to take that from them. If they can't play nice, you don't play with them. And me, myself, as an adult, I have I think he's 8 years old, one of my own nephews who likes to kind of be a little mean with me sometimes. And I go, okay, I'm not playing with you for a few days. Mind you, do I care what an 8-year-old says about me? If he says I'm trash at Fortnite? No.
Yeah.
But I also don't want him doing that with anybody else. So I set that limit where I'm like, I'm not going to play with you because that was unnecessary. Yeah. Something else that we'll cover more in the social media podcast is streaming. A lot of these kids want to be gamers because of Ninja, because of a million others Twitch streamers that made it big. What's one of the ones I watched? Can't even remember them anymore because I don't watch it anymore. A bunch of these streamers, and they think they're going to become gaming professionals. And let me tell you, I honestly am one of those people that I'm like, that's a possibility for anybody.
It is, but it is very, very, very difficult
and time consuming. But hey, I'm not one to shoot anybody's dream down. You want to be a professional gamer and you're willing to dedicate the time, it's totally possible at the right age. Yeah.
At just like any dream, just like any accomplishment that you want to make, you know, you're not going to be 18. You're not going to be 18 out of high school with $50 in your pocket going to California to be the next big thing, right? That's just not going to cut it. You can chase your dreams as long as you're realistic about it. And like we say before, educate yourself on all of it so that you and your kids can have a better idea of how to kind of navigate this online space, right?
Yeah.
And as we're starting to close out, one of the things that I'll leave you all with is let us know in the comments below what games your kids are playing and what precautions you're taking with your kids to help them online, right?
100%.
Let us know. Let's have that conversation. See let's share ideas on how, you know, to educate ourselves better. What precautions you take to make sure your kids are safe online,
or even what resources you wish you had.
Yeah.
Like what would help you, like if to put out, because we here have the ability to get for information and create. Like right here I have like a tips for social media safety that we created. Like we can come up with a gaming version of this to help like the community however we can. You know, we're a nonprofit. We've been a nonprofit here in Miami-Dade County for 46 years. Hopefully gonna go for 100 here, if not more. You know, we are here to serve you guys and inform you however best we can. So whatever information you guys need, you know, we're willing to do the training, to do the research, get things together to give you the information more easily. We'll do the hard work for you. Yeah. Essentially.
Definitely. So and that's it really. You know, let us know in the comments, let us know on social media, follow us use the hashtag @CCW or hashtag CCW podcast with all of your questions, all of your concerns, and any potential topics that you may want us to talk about on any show, right? Reach out to us. We want to have that conversation, right?
Yeah, we're here to help.
And with that, this was the CCW podcast. Kathy, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you.
We'll probably have her again at some point. Who knows? But it was nice.
It was good.
All right.
Bye-bye, guys.